Thank you, Representative. Recognize the gentle lady from the state of Minnesota, Ms. Fischbach.
The desks are so big, it's hard to reach. But thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just think Mr. Kilday had said a couple of the things about the dollars being stolen from the taxpayers, from the hardworking taxpayers. You know, I think it bears saying it again and again where that money is coming from, because I think Sheriff Smith had talked about you know, the hardworking families that these money came from, and I think it's important that we remember that while we're having these discussions. But I just wanted to, you know, ask a little bit. Mr. Turner, your testimony notes the DOL provided $1.3 billion for states for UI modernization, including IT modernization. And of the funds spent, however, states did not always take advantage of the opportunity to modernize their IT systems. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you know why that is, why they didn't take advantage of it?
In some cases, it was reported that some of these systems were so old that they did not really mesh well with the CARES Act in some cases. But the states that did use it showed benefit from doing so.
Well, so is there something more that we can use? I mean, so those dollars are still sitting there?
Yeah, yes, those dollars are still there. Let me just share with you, during the Recovery Act, there was $7 billion that was dedicated for modernization, IT modernization. And of that, there was about $2 billion that was used for something other than that. And it was allowed at that time. But it just shows you just, for some reason, it has not been a priority for states when it comes to modernization. And that's one reason that we've paid the price that we have.
So do you think there's anything that we can do to encourage them to use those dollars so that we do modernize those? Well,
I think one of the things the department is doing is with performance measures that they're using and keeping it as part of their top priorities. But I think just more emphasis on that and continued emphasis will make a difference.
Is there anything in that is attached to that money that would prevent them from using it now? I mean, or is it going to be taken back, or?
Well, some of that, well, first of all, they've established a IT modernization office, and I think part of that is going to help them provide the oversight that's needed by the department.
Okay, all right. All right, well, thank you very much. I also wanted to touch base with Mr. Dodaro about you've got 10 points, and I know that we've talked a little bit about the legislation, or at least the proposals that you had, and I've looked over the 10 issues you had for congressional consideration, and I'm just wondering if you wanted to expand a little bit on some of those. But the other issue, if these had been enacted, what kind of reduction to the fraud do you think would have happened? I mean, would they have had a direct result of stopping some of that?
If effectively implemented, they would have had a material effect. I don't know exactly, I can't put a number on it. But for example, the one recommendation that the improper payment estimate be made in the first year of the program, the PPP program didn't estimate improper payments until 2022. The pandemic unemployment insurance program still hasn't, even though it's ended, it still doesn't have an improper payment estimate. If you had had estimates earlier, you would have been able to take more forceful actions and put things in place and compelled the states to focus on those issues earlier. You know, the anti-fraud strategy that we have in place and the Paycheck Protection Program, they didn't designate an anti-fraud dedicated entity until February 2022, when the program was almost finished. They didn't do a fraud risk assessment until well into 21, almost the end of 21. The Labor Department still hasn't implemented the anti-fraud recommendations that we have to them. So a lot of these things would have had a good effect had they been put in place. That's why we're urging Congress to pass these legislative improvements. But I would say also to this committee that unless there's sustained leadership attention at the Labor Department and effective working relationships with the states combined with strong congressional oversight, these reforms won't be effectively implemented.
Thank you very much. Oh, and Mr.
Can I
Horowitz.
add on to that? It not only would involve fraud prevention, but you'd have better delivery of service to the people who are entitled to the benefits, more prompt payment, reduction in identity theft. Think about how many people are dealing with identity theft issues now as a result. All of those cascade from improving IT modernization, taking the steps that GAO has recommended.
Thank you very much. And I have 8 seconds. I went over, so I yield back. Thank you.